Both speaking impromptu and speaking extemporaneously involve communicating your ideas without relying too heavily on presentation aids, notes, or a script. Both methods of delivery essentially push you to have a greater amount of interaction with the audience rather than having to evenly split your attention between the audience and whatever presentation aids you may be using. Whether it be through greater eye contact with the audience or being more expressive in your body gestures. Now, this is not to say that these two methods are the same, because they definitely have a few key differences that differentiate the two. When speaking impromptu, you have little to no preparation time to speak about a given subject since, well, naturally, you would only use this method when you're put in a situation where you have to speak out of the blue. With this method, you have to quickly consider your audience and think of a way to deliver a speech that would best suit them as well as the situation. Staying on topic and using transitions are also very important in keeping this suddenly prepared speech as organized and clear as possible. When speaking extemporaneously, though, you are given a lot more time in advance to create and organize a speech. In this method, you would usually use something like notes that highlight keywords and phrases so you have plenty of time to actually engage with your audience while having some sort of safety net in case you forget an important detail of your speech. This method is also intended to make your speech sound a lot more natural and conversational, which gives you a lot more flexibility in changing parts of the speech to better suit different audiences and situations. To kind of change topics, there are a few helpful tips for utilizing presentation aids that are very important to keep in mind. First, if you actually plan on using presentation aids, be sure to actually use them when practicing the speech. That way, there won't be any accidents or road bumps when you're using them in the real situation. Second of all, when you're giving a speech, speak to your audience, not the presentation aid. The whole point of the aid is to help you communicate your ideas through an additional medium, but that doesn't mean you can basically ignore the audience the whole time and just stare at the presentation aid. Lastly, it's important to keep your presentation aid visible for an appropriate amount of time for everybody in your audience to see. Showing it off too little will lead to nobody really understanding the point of why you even showed it in the first place. But showing it off too much will just create this constant form of distraction from you, the speaker. For the informative speech, me and my partner are considering using PowerPoint slides that will highlight some key information of our main topics. The reasoning behind this is the fact that the topic of our informative speech is something that isn't necessarily physical in nature, so it wouldn't really make sense to bring a physical object to serve as a direct representation of a system that is digital in nature.